What most people don't understand is that growing your career is different from scaling your career. Now, growing and scaling are two terms that are often used interchangeably, and they shouldn't. So depending on where you're at in your career trajectory, you may actually want to be scaling rather than growing your career. I'm Laverne McKinnon, and I am a certified coach and a grief recovery specialist, and I love to help ambitious people navigate career transitions, whether you're moving up the ladder, getting pushed off the ladder, or just trying to find the ladder. I'm here to help. Let's take a closer look at these two terms. So growth is about output. It's about the amount of energy that you're putting in is going to correlate to what you're getting back. And growth is also typically linear. So it's one step at a time, each progression requiring more work, more effort, more time, more energy, more resources. Growth is not a bad thing, and it's an important part of your career trajectory, but it's not the be-all, end-all. Scaling is about growing your impact without having to proportionately put in more effort. So this is really looking at optimizing your systems, your relationships, and your strategies so you are at less risk for burnout. So for example, rather than networking, going to every single event and feeling like you're having to schedule, a breakfast and a coffee and a drinks and a hike with every single person you meet, it's really focusing in on the few key relationships that can open multiple doors for you. This also might look like early in your career, you might say yes to every single opportunity as a way to get on people's radar. But if you're scaling, you're only saying yes to the opportunities that are actually going to help you reach your long-term career goals. There are three key elements to scale your career. So the first is to trim and optimize for maximum efficiency. Now, I know that sounds like a lot of MBA speak, so let me help you break this down a little bit further. Scaling is about ensuring that every single one of your choices is giving you a return on your investment. And your investment, it's not necessarily like writing a check. It's about your time, it's about your energy, it's about your creativity. And you want to make certain that those investments are giving you some form of return. Now, that could be a return of finances, that could be a return of opportunities. It could be a return on like an emotional return, a return of joy. So you really want to take a look at how you are making those choices and what you're getting back in return. To that end, you want to be able to trim unnecessary tasks. You want to really look at your workflow, and you want to make certain that you're streamlining everything. So it's not about making certain that your time is like packed together. Spaciousness is actually a really, really good thing. It's about making certain that there's nothing that is wasted. A way to look at this is to identify what's draining you, what's feeling like it's heavy, that there's no sense of joy, and then to flip the switch and make those choices that feel like they're uplifting you, or at least on some level, bringing you a sense of fulfillment. So 3 questions to help you identify how to trim and optimize. What are the tasks, habits, or commitments that are bringing you joy? And which are the ones that are dragging you down? What work is energizing to you? And what work is draining you? What work is aligned with your purpose and your values? Once you got those answers, then I want you to be super, super ruthless and start cutting and trimming. So when I did an audit of how I was spending my time, I realized that I was putting in so many hours trying to learn and master Canva. I can't even tell you how many hours it took me to create just a single LinkedIn carousel. And here's the thing, I don't actually have a natural affinity or talent for design, but I felt so compelled to master Canva. And to be completely honest, it was tied to my identity. I like to think of myself as being really competent and capable. But the truth was that no matter how many hours I was putting into Canva, I was never going to be competent and capable. It was not a good use of my time. So I wound up relinquishing that responsibility of creating these carousels and design elements on Canva to a team member. And wow, I have to tell you, it felt like such a weight was lifted off me. And then I wound up being able to use that energy to design a new course that I'm going to be launching on Substack about career grief. Much better use of my time. The next element to being able to scale is to ensure that you have the right infrastructure. So what I mean by that is, who are the people on your team? And this doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have employees. This could be mentors, advocates, people who you're hiring just on a one-off basis to do something like a Canva design. But you want to make certain that you have the right people on your team, because in order to scale, you can't scale alone. You have to have people who help you across the finish line. Not having the right people on your team is like trying to climb Mount Fuji with a 100-pound backpack and no water to hydrate. You need the right team members to be able to scale. I'm going to ask you 3 more questions to help you figure out who you've got on your team and if they're the right people. Who in your network actually gives you real constructive feedback as opposed to telling you what you want to hear or keeping you in your comfort zone? I call those people my truth tellers. Which responsibilities are you holding on to out of fear rather than taking on responsibilities that are going to help you move forward? I know for myself that I sometimes stay doing things like creating particular lists that don't actually move the needle, but it just feels comforting to me because I know what that is. That's actually not helping me scale. And then, where are the weak spots in terms of your infrastructure? Where are those gaps where there are people who can provide you with skills, resources, talent, experiences that you don't have, and that you need to fill those gaps and get real about it? Because again, you can't possibly scale on your own. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that I see from my clients is an under-reliance or an over-reliance on team members. And this applies to employers, employees, gig workers, indie contractors, that you may be putting too much emphasis and over-indexing on certain people to keep you in your comfort zone. So an example of this, because I work with a lot of creative people, writers, directors, actors, and they have a belief system that they need a rep in order to be able to achieve career success. Well, here's the truth. You don't need a rep in order to achieve career success. The rep is there to enhance opportunities, to enhance work. But what happens then is that they over-index believing that they need an agent or a manager, and they pull back and they don't do their part of what they need to do in order to move their career forward. So they're really over-indexing. And or what happens is they just then say, I'll take any agent or I'll take any manager without finding the right match for what they really need. If your infrastructure isn't built correctly, scaling is impossible. Here's the thing, and this tees us up for the third element to being able to scale. Even with the best infrastructure, you cannot succeed unless you know what is holding you back. What are the bottlenecks in your career that need to be addressed? The 3 most common bottlenecks that I see are holding on to outdated wins, ignoring skill gaps, and pursuing goals that no longer align with your values. Here are 5 questions to help you get clear on what are the career bottlenecks that might be getting in your way to scaling. This first one is a tough one. Are you holding on to past wins as opposed to creating new experiences for yourself that really showcase what you're capable of? This comes from a place of fear. Second, have you been avoiding necessary steps like gaining certifications, new experiences, expanding or adding people into your team? And that can really hold you back from scaling. The third question, also a toughie, which is, are you staying in a career or in a role that no longer aligns with your values or purpose simply because you have invested a lot of time and energy into that career or role? It may be time to pivot. Fourth question, are you chasing after a new title, a promotion for the purpose of external validation rather than looking for the real growth opportunity? Sometimes a step back will mean more to scaling than actually getting that next level job. And then the fifth one is your professional network actually what you need at this moment in time? Are they the ones who can open doors, be your truth tellers? Sometimes we hold on to relationships long past when they are being helpful to us. Now, I know that probably sounds Machiavellian, but we want to be honest, and maybe that person moves out of your professional network and into the friend zone so that you can actually strengthen your professional network to help you get what you need. So I want to wrap all of this up today with a story about my client, Lucas. That's not his real name, but Lucas was a website designer who was doing really well and he was getting top dollar for his work. But he eventually found himself stuck in the cycle of having to put in more and more effort and time and energy in order to find more financial success in his business. So when we started working together, Lucas realized that in order to scale, he had to understand that he was the bottleneck and that he needed to bring on junior designers. He needed to train them and learn to trust them so that he could free up his time and his energy to look at more high-level strategy and also client acquisition and sort of move out of designing websites for individuals so that he could look more to B2B opportunities. And so when he implemented that, he actually experienced that exponential impact without having to exert more effort. He found himself having more time, more spaciousness, and not having to grind away. So yeah, scaling is really not about grinding. It's about streamlining your efforts. It's about looking at the bottlenecks. It's about looking at the things that are holding you back in terms of your alignment with your values and your purpose, and just being really, really ruthless about examining how you're spending your time and what type of return you're getting on the investment of your time, your energy, and your creativity. So scaling, very, very different than growing. They're both valuable, so you just want to be able to look at where are you at in your career trajectory and which strategy makes the most sense, scaling or growing. Okay, that's it for today. If you want to dive deeper into this topic, head over to Substack. My paid subscribers there get access to journal prompts that help you go even deeper into this topic. And you also get, as a paid subscriber, we do monthly co-working Zooms, really, really awesome, like so beautifully productive and a wonderful sense of community. You also get meditation drops every week. And then starting in late April, for my paid Substack subscribers, I'm going to be launching a 5-part career grief workshop. Super, super cool. I hope that you'll consider joining us there. And if you would like more information on how to work with me, head over to my website, moonshotmentor.com, and you can find ways to work with me there. And a very special thank you to Lynn Chen for the video editing. You can find her on social at Ms. Lynn Chen. And I just want to thank you again for being here. You know, I've been getting DMs, some comments, and it's really beautiful to see how much this community is growing. And I'm so, so glad that you're here. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next week.